Hey there, and welcome to Pretty and Well, the show where we raise the collective vibe. I'm your host, Mika, and as you can see by the title, we will be discussing setting healthy boundaries. Let's get into it. I do want to start by saying that setting boundaries is not a sign of selfishness. It's actually an act of self-care and self-respect. Your boundaries, they're going to define who you are and who you're not. So they're really just here to empower us to live authentically and cultivate meaningful relationships. First of all, do you have healthy boundaries? And if you don't know, that's okay. There's several different signs that can indicate if you don't have healthy boundaries. So I just want to go over a few scenarios. And if you find yourself agreeing with these scenarios, then you definitely want to stick around. Okay. So my first question would be, do you have a difficult time saying no? If you're one of those people who just find it really hard to decline a request or a favor, even if you feel like you're stretched too thin, you still have an issue saying no. Do you often feel responsible for other people's emotions? Like you're constantly feeling like you have to fix someone else's problem, or you are responsible for their feelings. Are you a person that ignores their own needs? Like you would neglect your own needs, whether that's an emotional, physical, or mental need, just to accommodate someone else? Are you someone that overcommits themselves? Um, like you take on too many tasks or too many responsibilities or obligations, all at the expense of your own well-being. Are you someone who tolerates a lot of disrespect? You might allow others to disrespect you or to invade your personal space, or you ignore your feelings without standing up for yourself. Are you someone that has a difficult time making decisions? And this is out of fear of upsetting another person or disappointing someone. Do you constantly seek approval? Are you one of those people who really rely on other people's approval or validation for your self-worth? Lastly, do you have a fear of conflict? Are you someone who doesn't believe in rocking the boat? You avoid all conflict at all costs, even if it might be necessary to address an important issue. If you found yourself agreeing with any of these scenarios, then that can indicate that you have a lack of boundaries, or weak boundaries. But that's okay. We're here to recognize these signs. This is the first step towards establishing healthier boundaries and really just improving your overall well-being. There are several different types of boundaries. We can categorize them as emotional, physical, digital, professional. If you need examples, then let me know and I'll be more than happy to go over some in more detail with you all. I just want to say that there are several different boundaries that you should have in place for yourself. A person with no boundaries or a lack of boundaries is always going to be taken advantage of. I was definitely this person once upon a time. So I totally get it. And obviously, boundaries are going to vary based on, individual differences and cultural differences. But every person should have a set of boundaries or something to guard themselves with or protect themselves with. Boundaries truly matter. Boundaries promote your self-respect. When you set and maintain boundaries, it helps establish a sense of self-respect and self-worth. It shows that we value ourselves enough to protect our own well-being because, it's our well-being. We have to protect it. Boundaries are definitely going to help preserve your mental and emotional health. When you have clear boundaries, it can prevent emotional burnout and stress because you're limiting the negative influence of others. If you have clear boundaries, it's going to ensure that you have the emotional and mental space to take care of your own needs. Boundaries are essential in any relationship. They are going to define what is acceptable behavior and they help create a mutual respect. Healthy boundaries encourage open communication and trust between individuals. If you don't have boundaries, there's a risk that you are or will be taken advantage of. It's easy to exploit people who don't have boundaries. They don't have any limits. So it's easy to manipulate those who don't. So when you set those boundaries, you are preventing exploitation and you maintain a balance in power dynamics. Boundaries encourage personal growth. When we respect our own boundaries and recognize others' boundaries, it fosters a place of personal growth. It allows us to learn and understand each other better. And that just overall leads to self-awareness. Clear and defined boundaries facilitate effective communication. When we communicate our boundaries, others know what to expect. That only leads to more meaningful and respectful interactions. Overall, boundaries are essential for maintaining a healthy relationship, promoting your self-care, and just ensuring your overall well-being. They really empower us to take control of our lives and protect our emotional and mental health. How to stand on boundaries. I would say the first thing would be communicate clearly. Okay? Be clear and assertive when you're communicating your boundaries to others. You use statements that say I to express your needs, such as I need some alone time right now, or I am not comfortable discussing this topic. Be clear and stand on it. Learn to say no. No is a complete sentence. I mean, N-O, period. Like sometimes I put no with a heart, just if I'm feeling like I'm just doing a little too much. No, that is a complete sentence, okay? Practice saying no without feeling guilty. Like, always remember that it is okay to decline a request or an invitation or anything that doesn't align with your needs or priorities. Identify your limits. Reflect on your emotional, physical, and mental limits. And this might not be the same for every single person, right? You have to understand what makes you uncomfortable or stressed, and then you set your boundaries according to that. Prioritize self-care. You should be making self-care a priority in your routine. Okay, you need to set aside time for activities that rejuvenate you and bring you joy. And it doesn't matter what it is, this is for you. So if that's reading a book or exercising or meditating or even just spending time with your loved ones, prioritize that. Make that a priority and pour into yourself in that way of self-care. Trust your instincts, okay? Listen to your intuition. If you feel that something is not right, acknowledge it and set a boundary to protect yourself. And when you're setting a boundary, be firm, okay? Be firm, but polite. You can assert yourself and assert your boundaries firmly, but you can also do it in a respectful way. Being polite yet assertive helps other people understand your limits without causing unnecessary conflict. Practice self-compassion. Understand that setting boundaries is a sign of self-respect, okay? It's not being selfish. So be kind to yourself and recognize that your well-being matters. You can always seek support. Talk to your supportive friends or family or a therapist about your boundaries. They can really provide a lot of encouragement, maybe even some advice that helps you stay accountable, because these are your boundaries, right? Like, you are the person who's in charge of enforcing your boundaries. Be consistent. When you are consistent in enforcing your boundaries, people might test you, but you stay firm. When you're consistent, it reinforces the message that your boundaries are non-negotiable. This is not a game. This is not a test. It's okay to be consistent and be firm. You don't have to be rude, but you can be firm in your stance. This is protecting you. This is for the betterment of you and every relationship that you allow into your life. Also, a part of setting boundaries is reevaluate them things regularly, okay? Boundaries are set in place because it's to protect us. So it's okay to adjust your boundary. Your boundary from a year ago might not look the same as it does today. Your boundary from a week ago might not look the same as today. It's okay to revisit, revise, take a look and see, okay, you know what? I made this boundary at a point in my life where I, you know, did not feel safe with A, B, and C. Now I feel like I have a little more leeway and I can adjust accordingly. All that is up to you, but don't forget to reevaluate those boundaries, okay? And remember that honoring your boundary or standing on your boundary, it's a continuous process. Okay. It's not just one day you have a boundary and okay, that's it. Like, no, this is a conscious effort. This is a continuous process. It is going to require your self-awareness. You're going to have to be assertive. And also, you are going to have some compassion for yourself. With practice, you can establish and maintain boundaries that promote your well-being and foster healthy relationships in your experience. Practice makes perfect. Continue to revisit and revise and give yourself grace, okay? Setting boundaries is not for the weak, okay? Especially around holiday season. That's honestly why I am so ready to speak on this. It's really, really hard for me around the holidays because a lot of the boundaries that I had to learn to set were with family. And that's okay. You know, a lot of times your family, or maybe if you have friends from years and years and years, they might just see you as that. It doesn't mean that you haven't grown, but it's just like they know you as what they know you of. Maybe you guys connected when you didn't know what boundaries were. Maybe you were at a point in your life and you didn't feel like you had the right to speak up for yourself, or the right to give constructive criticism as far as how you are being handled. But it's okay to honor those boundaries. Let's talk about common misconceptions about boundaries, because there are boundaries, but this is not for manipulation. This is not to get your way out of a situation. This is simply to protect your heart. Okay. Common misconceptions. I would say the first one would be that boundaries are selfish. No, they're not. That's like the biggest thing that I hear, that boundaries are selfish or they're rude. They're not. In fact, they're healthy boundaries, I should say, are essential for our self-care and how we maintain healthy relationships, a healthy dynamic. We don't want dysfunction. We want healthy relationships that we can thrive in. Another misconception would be that setting boundaries means that I don't love you or I don't care. And that's not true at all. A lot of people, including myself, had a huge problem or fear just setting boundaries because of how I would think the other person would feel, or whoever I'm implementing this boundary to. But boundaries are actually about respecting yourself and others, and they actually strengthen relationships once you get it all out there. I know you gotta inform them and let them know, hey, this is my boundary, and we can go over different ways to actually verbalize that. But it doesn't mean that someone doesn't love you or that they don't care just because they want to set a boundary with you. Another misconception, I would say, that boundaries are fixed and you don't change them. We just talked about that. You can change your boundaries over time, based on different situations or based on different relationships. It's not something that's set in stone. It's something that you are going to adjust as needed. That's why it's really important to revisit, revise, what's working, what's not, what can be adjusted. It's all up to you, boo. Another misconception I hear a lot, I shouldn't have to set boundaries. If someone truly understands me and they care about me, then they should know my boundary without me having to express them. And that is so not true. You do have to set boundaries. It is uncomfortable sometimes, especially if you are a person who's used to being like a people pleaser. It can get very, very tough. However, you can do it. Clear communication is vital in any relationship, guys. Another thing I would say, another misconception, boundaries ruin relationships. Oof, this one hurt, okay, because I did feel like that just because last episode I talked about how I got into like this really, really healthy bag and I started, working out and journaling and like literally just taking care of myself in every aspect that I could. So when I would start to set boundaries, people will be like, oh no, absolutely not. Especially if it was like, someone who was used to me not having any boundaries or just used to being able to take advantage of me just not wanting to rock the boat. When I did implement that boundary and try to be assertive, it was like all hell broke loose. And that's not what I wanted. And I'm not saying that won't happen, because it very well might happen. But if you and that person love each other or are, on the same path at this time, then they will come around. They will understand. They will respect your boundary, okay? Another thing would be that boundaries are all or nothing. It's not necessary to set extreme boundaries to protect yourself. You can be moderate with your boundaries, and have flexibility, and you can compromise in your relationship. You just have to do what you deem fit per each relationship. And the last misconception that I want to speak on is that boundaries are just for romantic relationships. That is so not true. Like I said, a lot of the boundaries that I had to set were with family, okay? Boundaries are important in all types of relationships, including friendships, family, professional interactions. They are going to help how you interact with others in various aspects of your life. Okay. Having boundaries is essential because they define your personal limits and they help you to establish a sense of self-respect and self-care. Boundaries are going to protect your emotional and mental well-being while maintaining healthy relationships and preventing you from being taken advantage of. Boundaries enable you to communicate your needs and your expectations clearly, fostering healthy connections with others while ensuring you maintain a healthy balance between your own needs and those of the others around you. Thank you guys so much for listening and coming and being here with me. I so appreciate your time. I appreciate you guys wanting to grow with me and learn and just discuss these different topics. If you are still here with me on this recording, please comment 3 fire emojis. Let me see them. We want to stand on boundaries. We want to be in a healthy state of well-being, just all around, emotional, physical. We want to stand on our boundaries because we love ourselves, and this is how we get others to show up for us in the ways that we need the most. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. On the next episode, we will be discussing shadow work. Thank you all for being here. I love you so much. If you have any questions or comments or any thoughts, leave them below. Let me hear them. Let me see them. I love getting feedback from you guys. I love when you are, listening and telling me how it makes you feel or what's coming up or, how this is a tool for you. So again, thank you so much for tuning in to Pretty and Well. I am Mika, and I'm going to talk to y'all next time. Deuces.